What do I believe? Well, I am Christo-pagan. Now, first, you might say, you're a what? That sounds like a contradiction in terms. No, not really. Not really. Not really at all. See, I've studied the bulk of the religions of the world, certainly not all, but the bulk of them, for the past 25, 30 years or so. And there keeps coming a recurring theme. That recurring theme is a soon-coming Christ, Messiah, however you wish to however you wish to say it. I'll spit it out here. It's early in the morning. Haven't had my Joe yet. I'm drinking some Mountain Dew, but ain't like coffee. I don't know what it is, but I like coffee in the mornings. But anyway, your religions of the world, all right, are like a pyramid, okay? They're like a pyramid. And you have your Zoroastrianism, your Babylonian, Phoenician, and as you gradually go up the pyramid, you get to the apex of the pyramid, and on top of the pyramid, there is a cross, and an empty cross at that, okay? All of your religion up to the point of Jesus Christ was a type and foreshadowing of what was to come, all right? Now, some people will say, well, so-and-so did miracles, and so-and-so did works, and so-and-so did this, that, and the other thing. True, but they were still a foreshadowing of what was to come. And I think that was what Jesus was trying to get across to people, and they just didn't quite seem to get it. See, I'm going to tell you something that some of you probably don't know. The first person to figure out who Jesus was not a Jew. The first person who figured out what Jesus was a pagan, a Roman centurion. All right? Roman centurion. He was the one that got it. Jesus was in the city, and a Roman centurion come to him and says, I know who you are. I know where you come from. I know what you're doing here on earth. I know that you have power from the gods. I know that you're from the gods. And I know that all you have to do is simply say one word, and my servant will be healed. And Jesus marveled at him. I mean, he said, wow, I've been banging my head against a wall with these Jews for several weeks now, and they couldn't get it, and you got it in one try. And that's the case. And, by the way, his servant was indeed healed. So, I mean, the pagans got it. They figured it out first. Sorry, guys, but that's just the way it goes, okay? And, and when you stop and think about it, when you look at the religions of the world, it makes perfect sense that they form a pyramid culminating into the Messiah. This is simple logic. It makes perfect sense. Well, what about your multiple deities? Well, there is that word Elohim that just keeps cropping up over and over again. And no, it doesn't mean Trinity either. The Trinity is in there. I'm not disputing that. But Elohim is quite abundantly clear that it is multiple deities. All right? My basic philosophy is that there is a council of elders. The universe is a big place, ladies and gentlemen. It's a big place. All right? Who's to say that Yahweh is not in charge of this sector of space? Another elder god is in charge of another sector of space, and another elder god is in charge of another sector of space. And they, in their sector of the universe, created their beings in their image and after their likeness. Who's to say? I think it makes a lot more sense. And when you're dealing with a council of elders, it also makes sense when Lucifer rebels in heaven, because he's going after one of those seats on the council. See what I'm saying? And if you read about Lucifer's account in the Bible, it seems to concur with that. I will set my what? My throne, my seat. Right? Isn't that right? So this all perfectly makes good sense when you sit down and you think about it. And, and a lot of people, well, my deity, so-and-so did this, that, or the other thing. It was still a foreshadowing of what was to come. I think Jesus did not come to earth to establish a new religion called Christianity. I think he came to earth to abolish all religion and establish himself as the preeminent doorway to God, period, or to the council of gods, period. End of story. But somehow it all got twisted around into a newfangled religion when it wasn't supposed to do that at all. That wasn't supposed to be the plan at all. I don't believe, but no, that's a little inkling of what I believe and how I believe it, and why there is no contradiction as far as I'm concerned when I use the term Christo-pagan, because everything all meets up at the top of the pyramid anyway. Okay? Christ being the preeminent end-all be-all. Well, what about Islam? Well, I'm sorry, but Islam is outside of the pyramid. See, this is another thing that's going to pose a problem, because Islam is outside of the pyramid. Jesus was abundantly clear that there would be people who come after him claiming to be a prophet or claiming to be him, and that you weren't supposed to listen to those people. You weren't supposed to follow him. Muhammad was deceived. Muhammad was deceived by Lucifer. Now, a lot of people will say, well, what about where God says, only follow me? Well, Yahweh was correct. You are only to follow him. See, Lucifer was running around claiming to be God, wasn't he? Know ye not that the enemy of your soul, the devil, runs about like an angel of light? Yeah, well, Lucifer's running around trying to claim to be God. So Yahweh tells all of his followers, says, only serve me, because if somebody else comes and says they're a God, don't listen to them. Well, he was referring to Lucifer. Okay? You understand? You get it now? It really is not that complex, guys. It really isn't. When you sit down and you look at it from the broad spectrum view, it really isn't that difficult to understand. And so Lucifer's running around claiming to be God, and so Yahweh says, look, guys, only follow me now, because there's other people out there claiming to be a God, and I don't want you following them. I want you to follow me only. Okay? Because they'll deceive you. They'll take you down the wrong path. See now? See how it makes sense? And I'm not detracting against Christians or Hindus or Buddhists or anybody. I'm not detracting from anybody. If anything, I think it correlates to Jesus' own words, who said, I am the only doorway. I'm the only doorway. I'm the doorway for the Buddhists, for the Hindu, for the Jews, for the Christians, even for the Muslims, believe it or not, if they wish to abandon their cult of death and side with Jesus. So it doesn't matter what your religious beliefs are. As long as you acknowledge Jesus as the doorway, the Messiah, the Prince of Peace, and soon coming King, as long as you acknowledge him, it doesn't matter what your religion is, I don't believe, because it all ultimately ends up at the top of that pyramid where there's an empty cross up there. Okay? And if you want something in more detail, maybe I can do another video later on or something. But that gives you a basic inkling of how I believe, what I believe. And, to me, it just makes good logical sense. Okay?